Hello, and welcome to A Word of Hope. I'm Brother Joe Trout coming to you on this feast of St. Catherine of Siena. Catherine of Siena is one of the few female doctors of the Church. She's a lay Dominican woman. And her being a doctor of the Church is a fascinating reality, because what the Church has said is that her teaching is a sure guide towards God, towards holiness. One of my favorite parts of her spiritual teaching is this allegory that she has of the bridge. And this bridge is what leads us out of a river of sin, out of the river of misery and muck of this life, up to the heavens. The basic features of it are that the bridge follows up the cross of Christ, that we begin from climbing up the river to the feet of Christ nailed on the cross. That the first step of spiritual growth is that we, out of selfish interest, want to not be stuck in the misery of sin, that we don't want to go to hell, that we want something better for ourselves. That everyone's spiritual life really does begin in some pretty selfish desires, right? She doesn't think that's bad. That's just the first stage. It's bad if you stay there, but it's an important stage to pass through. So as we climb then this bridge, we move from the feet of Christ gradually up to the side of Christ, the pierced side where his blood and water flows out. What's this stage like? Well, we move from that kind of servile love in a mercenary form to becoming servants of God, where we really are transformed into wanting to serve him, to then becoming the friends of God. That as we approach the side, the heart of Christ, we start to really love God. Not just my own benefit from God, but God, and delighting in the reality of God's love for me, and that exchange of friendship, and hiding in kind of the depths of the heart of God. But that is not the pinnacle of spiritual growth, according to Catherine of Siena. We have to move from the side of Christ on the cross to the mouth of Christ. And she describes this in terms of the kiss of peace, that being a friend of God is not the top level. The top level is to be a son of God. Why a son? Okay, well, on one hand, she's living in a medieval era where sons are the ones who inherit, right? So to be a son of God is to have the family business passed down to you, that we have taken on not just loving God, but we've taken on the will of God. That my desires have been transformed in such a way that what I want is what God wants. Now, Catherine thought that very few people really reach this stage in this life because it takes an awful lot of letting go. It takes an awful lot of transformation, and it comes with quite a bit of sorrow. That once you take on the heart of God and that longing for the salvation of the world, you're going to be deeply saddened by the miseries of people who sin and harm one another. That the pains of the world will come with the joys of the world. And at this top stage, we have so entered into union with God that we really can have confidence that we have, this promise of the kingdom that we will inherit, that there's a sureness and a peace about life at this top stage, that it is the perfection of life that we can experience in this life. It's not heaven, but it's the top of spiritual life of union with God here and now. And it is a real union, a real foretaste of heaven.